I posted about love today. It's strange. There's still a reluctance to talk about this as love, because I've noticed how divisive it can be, that word. And from the responses from this post that I put on Facebook today, it was really obvious that some hear that this is love and love it, and some hear that this is love and just will not have it. It can't be. It can't be. Not all of it. And I understand that, I get that. I remember hearing that about unconditional love, and it was the bit that I could never get. And yet I did love it. I love to hear it. But I didn't understand it. Now, interestingly, I don't know that you'll find it interesting, that hasn't changed. It's not that I understand that this is love. That can't be understood. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever that the most horrendous, painful, hurtful, distasteful, repulsive, repugnant, what we would typically call evil, how could all of that be love too? I don't know. It's pretty much the same as everything that I ever speak about. I don't know what I'm speaking about. It doesn't make sense. And when I use the word love, I'm not using it in the typical sense of love, as in lovely, as in only beautiful, as in only pleasant, only happy, only joyous. There is an obviousness that it's all love. And it is funny that I really wanted to understand that and know that and get that. But this isn't something you can get or have. It won't be contained. It's not interested in your desires, what you'd like it to be like, what you'd like life to look like, how you'd like it to feel. And so typically is spoken of as unconditional love, but even that is too conditional. It's not even unconditional. Because that sounds like a rejection of conditional love. But no. No exceptions. Utterly and totally inclusive. The impossibility of exclusion. Now, maybe that's why I use the word love, or the word of love seems appropriate, But it still doesn't make sense. It's not rational. It's not logical. You won't be able to work it out and understand it. It seems like the more I speak about this, the more obvious it is that I don't know what I'm talking about. That may be obvious to you as well. But it really is undoubted that this can't be known in any typical sense of the way we usually use the word known or understood. And to me, that's never going to be satisfactory to the one who wants to know. It's never going to be satisfactory. This isn't coming to a place of satisfaction, to a conclusion, to a place of, to an ending. And strangely, that feels like love as well. So everything that self is rejected as not love, that too. Sorrow, grief, rejection, resistance, ugliness, repulsion. Regret. Well, we don't have to talk about love for the whole meeting. I didn't know that was going to be like that, but there we are. If you've got anything you'd like me to speak about, or you've got any questions, or you'd like to share anything, then feel free to do so. Put your hand up, or
in the chat, Alex says, Buddhism tells us it's unloving to kill mosquitoes and insects because they want to live. What's your views on that?
it's nothing that's unloving. Well, yeah. It isn't unloving. If a mosquito bites you and you get the pain, you don't even have to have any intent maybe Buddhists would say that's okay. So you just smack the mosquito and splat the blood all over your arm as he bites you. Maybe that's acceptable. A lot of goodness, righteousness is all to do with intent, isn't it? But I'm not talking about I'm not talking about loving. I mean, I shouldn't really use the word, but I can't find a more appropriate word. And I mean, the most radical example would be hating. Hating can't be love, can it? So I'm not talking about how love is normally used at all. It's a love that's utterly neutral. It's not a love that is necessarily loving or hating or anyway. It's always. It's regardless. It's kind of the antithesis of what most human beings refer to as love, because they'll have very specific ideas of what love looks like. So I do understand why it's a divisive word, and yet it seems to be want to be said, even though I've always had a reluctance to speak about it. It's because it can't be intellectualized. I think that's one of the big problems. With most of non-duality, there can be some level of intellectual understanding, and that seems to satisfy self to an extent. Whereas love, unconditional love, does not. It can't be rationalized in any way at all.
Hi, Tim. Hi.
Who's that, Natalie?
Yeah.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi. Maybe because it doesn't pin anything down. Unconditional love. You know, like we can't pin ourselves down. You know, we can't label anything as it's set this one way forever.
Sorry, Natalie.
And so it's just
Natalie.
so free because
you're breaking up. I can't really. I've only got some of that.
Okay, maybe when I get in a different area, it'll be better.
Okay, or just write, or just text it in the chat.
Okay.
Michael says in the chat, isn't the belief that whatever this is cannot be known another belief of knowing? Just...
Yeah, it could sound like that, sure. But I'm really talking, when I say can't be known, I'm talking about that it's completely known without any knowing, which is nonsensical. But that's why I'm saying, I mean, I can't rationalize it. There seems no energy to talk, to debate it about, you know, the knowing of it or not. Because I can't say that I know it. Yet there is a desire to talk about it. It's not an it. There isn't any love. You can't get more love than that. So I'm not talking about something that can be known. It's everything. You'd have to know everything. And it's not anything, so it's nothing. So you'd have to know nothing. Good luck with trying to know that. There'll be, there'll be no knowing nothing. So you're left with paltry, the inadequacies of language in all we have to try to express to each other this love that can't be expressed. What you heard the last 10 minutes was my pathetic attempt to do that. And I know it can't be conveyed. I mean, I don't doubt that for a moment. That does allow the freedom to attempt to. I think maybe one of the rationales for saying that it's love is that because there isn't anything else. If all there is this, and this isn't something, it's just another way of saying all there is love. And love isn't something. Love is everything, just as it is, not a certain way. That's what wants to be spoken about. Quite pointlessly, I'm not asking you to see it, can't be seen. I'm not asking you to know it or understand it. It's just wants to be expressed.
Catherine has a hand up.
Hi, Catherine.
Yeah, so really when we talk about love, all we know is just an idea of what love is. It's just an idea. I mean, it's just like music, and you can talk about music, but it's not music. The talking about music is not music, and the talking about love is not love. And
yeah, I think music is a good analogy.
And when there's no knowledge, who's to tell what's right or wrong? Do you know, we have the idea that love is right and hate is wrong, or cruelty is wrong. You know, we've got all that.
Yeah.
And again, it's just an idea of something.
Yeah.
An interpretation. It's more or less like, oh, I prefer this and I don't like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we talk about right and wrong, really, honestly, what human beings mean generally when they say something is wrong means I don't like that. And more often than not, I'm afraid of that. That frightens me, or it repulses me. It makes me afraid. I'm scared of it. It's wrong.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And then this whole morality and ethics is placed because it then justifies my fears. It justifies my judgment of what's right and wrong, because the self can convince itself that there are some absolutes that are right and wrong, but they're not. They're completely arbitrary for each human being, uniquely. I mean, if you want to get into a heated debate, get into any ethical, moral discussion.
Yes.
And in no time at all, it will become vehement. It'll become venomous. People will get, because it's such a huge part of who I am, what I believe to be right.
And the more moral you are, the more likely you are to judge people who are not into the exact line, the
Yeah.
frame of where your morality sits. And
Yeah. And of course, whoever those who stand in moral judgment over others, of course, they're even more moralistic towards themselves.
yes,
You know, if they're giving other people hell, imagine what they're doing to themselves.
yes, that's right. Yeah. And yet, even like if you face cruelty, we wouldn't say, oh, that's fine, that's love as well, so I can accept it. No, we're just like, no, thank you, you can bugger off.
No, not at all.
You defend yourself or whatever, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everything is.
No, I mean, if you ask me what's right and wrong, I'll have exactly what my parents told me was right and wrong. That's what I got.
Yeah, well, I mean, if somebody decides to hurt your kids, you're going to, you know, beat them up or, you know, kick them out to stop it. It's not nature.
Yeah.
It's the rawness of nature, isn't it? Like animals don't think, oh, a cat can't eat a bird. Well, yes, if it's hungry enough, it's going to eat a bird, and it's raw, isn't it? No, I don't know.
No, I'm not talking about love that has any morals at all. That's what I'm speaking of. It's utterly not even amoral. There's no recognition of morality. That's a human thing. Animals are not moral beings. We've made that shit up.
Yeah, man-made.
And we've indoctrinated every child with the morals that we taught and we thought were right. All completely innocently. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. It's just how it is. And I'm not saying that, I'm not justifying what I would call, abhorrent acts by other human beings. A violent person can't help but be violent and doesn't have a choice about that. And as Michael said the other day, and I don't have a choice about wanting to have them locked up so they don't hurt me or my children. That's love.
Yeah.
It's the choicelessness. I mean, there's great love in them.
Thank you, Tim. I can see Michael's waiting as well.
Is it? Michael said something like that the other day.
Go ahead, Michael.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Michael.
It seems to me what you were saying is that there's something beyond our ability to intellectually comprehend, or something beyond our languaging format that is always on the horizon that we can't quite grasp. To me, that seems to be the great goose chase, that there's something I'm missing, something.
Did I say that, Michael?
No, well, the implication is that love can't be known, or whatever this is can't be known. And to me, that seems like saying there is something, but we can never know it.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay.
It's funny. That's why I don't fucking talk about love. Look how it's heard. No, I'm not saying it can't be known. I'm saying there is no love. I'm saying there is no love. There's only love. Now, if you're saying I can know that or not know that, it's. I'm not saying, because it may sound like I'm suggesting that love is the source. Love is love. It's just another word for God, if you like. It's the unknowable, but it's everything and nothing, and that can't be known, but it is still. I'm not saying that. I have the sense of I just have a sense of love. I don't understand that, is what I'm saying, but it can be undeniable. But there's there's a doubtlessness about love, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know, and I don't feel it's hidden. That's the other thing. So I'm not suggesting that it's just out of my grasp. I'm saying there is no love. There's only love. But that doesn't make, I know that's utterly paradoxical, but that is how it feels. So I'm not saying it's anything that could possibly be grasped, because it's not something.
Is it possible that our entire experiential ability, our entire world is confined to and defined by the objectifying of it, that there's nothing for us, there's nothing beyond that, there's nothing beyond what we are currently experiencing, that this elusive thing that everybody says, I just want to get it, just why don't you tell me what it is?
I've just told you what it is. I've just told you it's love. There we go. It's done. It's finished. It's over.
I'm not happy with that. Yeah, to me, this objectification of the world seems to be the most beautiful and terrible perspective of any sentient being. It's a place for me where love and beauty exist, but it is confined to.
I would say, I mean, I can't know whether it is confined or not, because I don't even know about my own objective world that I live in. Because there's no sense of anyone living in the world. So I can't even get to grips. When you say that, I can rationalize it and understand it, but I can't get to grips with that at all, because I have no sense of whether there's words or not, that there's any difference. You know, whether it's the world as it's seen and felt and experienced is because of the objectification and language, you know, because of words. I don't know. I just simply have I can't say anything about it, because I can't take the words away. I can't take language away and then, oh, I've got a comparison. I could compare it with, you know, a 1-year-old who doesn't have any language. I can't compare myself with a pre-language human being to go, oh yeah, oh, it is very different for a 1-year-old. Well, I'm guessing that it is, but it would just be a guess.
I have one more question. Is there anyone you dislike?
Yeah. Yeah, dislike. Yeah. Yeah, quite a few.
Okay.
Oasis.
Do you want a list?
Oh, thank you, Tim.
No, I think you know, dislike is love. There you go. There's a really, I mean, that's a very, because I used to beat myself up. I would meet someone and I disliked them for no justifiable reason other than I disliked them. Now I just dislike them. It's not a problem. It was a bloody problem when I couldn't justify it. And then because then what happened? I then turned the dislike of the other human being, which was just natural. It's just like I don't like the color green much, say, for an example, or I don't like pistachio ice cream. I don't like it. I don't have to, you know, we don't try and justify that and rationalize it. I just don't like it. So you meet human beings, you don't like them. It actually isn't a problem. But it is, it is for me. If I can't, well, you know, they were ill-mannered and they were rude, and I have to give a whole, but actually dislike is, I just think it's as natural as not liking bananas.
Mm.
So yeah, there would be human beings. I mean, this is you could say there's no human beings I don't love. I don't mean I love them, but who aren't loved. Because it's very obvious the ones I dislike, it's not their fault that I dislike them, and it's not mine. It's just how it is. It can get tricky. It can get tricky when the ones you dislike, they like you. That's not easy.
Is there anyone you hate?
No.
Mm.
No,
Thanks, Jared.
no, not at all. No. When choicelessness, when it's seen that every human being is just being as they are, they haven't chosen to be how they are. Fucking hell, we know this. It's so glaringly obvious. And regardless of any non-dual speak, if every human being realized that every other human being, but most especially themselves, was just as they are and couldn't be other than they are, well, that would be the miracle to end all miracles. So no, you can't hate anyone. You dislike them and you'll dislike how they are, and you won't want to be with them. You might want them locked up, but you won't hate them, because hate is they could be other than they are and they're choosing not to be. So this because I have free will and choice, I can't help but infer that the evildoer has chosen to be evil. I used to I used to be a teacher of it was religion really, but we called it faith and ethics, so that we didn't have religion in the title of the subject, hoping that the kids won't catch on that it's just the same old shit. But I used to do a lot of ethical discussions, and the free will and choice one was always, it was great with teenagers actually. They were my favorite lessons. When we talked about, you know, their ability to choose and how limited it was, you know, rather than this, I could be anything, I could choose anything, about how limited. And then those who said that they had complete free will and choice, sexuality was always interesting, that you could choose who you were attracted to. This was particularly aimed at the homophobic boys, homophobic 15-year-old Cambridgeshire boys, extremely homophobic. Phobic about most things, actually, not just homosexuality. Scared of anything that wasn't like me. And so I said, well, I would always say, so you could choose who you fancied, and the boys would go, yeah. So you could choose to be gay. You could choose to be sexually attracted to whoever you chose to be. It would go quiet after that. No, I mean, who you really like, who you're attracted to. And I don't just mean sexually, I just mean generally. There's a great indication of how what you've called yourself, or what you did call yourself, has no say over that whatsoever. I've lost count of how many people have told me, I know I shouldn't fancy him like I do. I shouldn't really fancy her. It's so wrong, so wrong. It's utterly undeniable. Yeah. So not only that, everything else, you didn't get to choose any of it. You can take no pride in anything you've ever done. Isn't that wonderful? And of course, self doesn't like that bit of it, but it does like, well, can be attracted to, there's no shame in anything you've done. It couldn't have been otherwise. Can be remorse. There can be regret, but not shame. Shameless. Love is shameless. Guiltless. Prideless. That's not a word.
Innocent.
Innocent, yeah, but it's interesting because innocence kind of dies, because without guilt there's really no innocence. But yeah, everything, I mean, there are flavors of this, like gratitude. I mean, you'd think there has to be me, it'd be my gratitude, but there is just gratitude does appear in the most unexpected ways, for the most simple things.
Already everything has the hand up.
Who is that already? Everything.
It's all. But
Hello.
I was also it's not thinking, but the words pure and innocent arise, because that's everything. And I was thinking, it's so to give words on that what is.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to not use the words pure or innocent, just because without their opposites.
But this is from there is no opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pure innocence, there is no opposites in pure innocence. Everything is pure innocence.
Yeah, you could say that, yeah. There is an innocence to everything. But that doesn't mean to say you don't want to lock people up. No, that sounds really contradictory, but because it can sound like there'd be if everything is pure innocence, then there'd be complete passivity, and you don't have to judge another human being or anything else to want to act to keep the pure and the innocent safe. I mean, that's really natural.
Mary Rose has a hand up.
Mary.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. So did you notice any visual difference as far as apparently seeing things that you were familiar with for the first time and hearing things in a way that you hadn't, like, did any of those like five senses that we have in the, in the body, did that did that shift at all? Or is that something that you would even, I mean, who would know? I get that, but.
Well, I mean, I'd be clutching at straws a little bit to talk about that, because of course it's only in comparison with how I remember it. I mean, that's all we ever have.
Right.
We are only, if we're talking about any change, what do we actually mean? We mean, okay, awareness, or being aware of what's happening, or experiencing how things are, and then I have to compare it with how they were. And of course, how they were is not how they are. So how they were is, well, I don't know what a memory is, but I know it's bloody unreliable. And so I can imagine, and I just think there's so much imagination in all the whatever differences there are. Of course, everything's always different. Experience is never the same. It's always brand new. What's happening is absolutely fresh. So in that sense, there's nothing that's ever the same. So then to talk about, so before the shift, perception was like this. After the shift, it was that. I tend not to want to speak about anything like that because, well, one, I don't really have a sense that anything is significantly different in terms of how the world is perceived at all. Perception is perception, you know.
Because what is.
So I mean, it isn't like the biblical veil being lifted, or, you know, and I see with new eyes. So I haven't got new eyes.
Okay.
No, that's a bit of a blow, really, because I was looking forward to having some new ones that were, you know, a bit better than the ones that I had. You know, that they would see everything would be. No, I don't have any sense that my senses have changed. No, not really.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But what has changed, we can't speak about. It's just, so the only thing that's changed, I mean, being human is being human. So.
Right. I mean, words just don't, it's like if you say God, I don't like saying God just because it conjures up some, you know, man with a white beard sitting on a throne for most people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not, but that's all we have. So.
But I wouldn't, but the other thing I wouldn't want to do is say that just that because that's how it is here, that's how it is for Tim, that's how it, you know, that's some prescription, that's some description of how it should be or could be. That's equally seen as bullshit. And I know plenty of people who tell stories of how it has changed.
Yes, there was a soccer player, and when he was 16 or something, he just suddenly felt the need to sit down and like the smells and the scents and.
Oh, well, I know Paul really well, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul, exactly. So yeah. So
yeah, I mean, the way Paul talks of
waves,
it's funny because I love Paul to bits, and I haven't spoken to him lately actually, but when Paul talks about this, it's like he's from another planet.
yes.
Yeah.
It's so
I
compelling.
absolutely adore listening to him. I could listen to him all day. It's so beautiful, but I haven't got a fucking clue what he's talking about. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful and poetic.
And that is the beauty.
And full of love.
Yeah.
But when he talks about his experience, I've just had a boring life. I mean, my mystical experiences, they're not even on one hand, you know, in 60 years, it's tame. So I tend to not talk about this as experience, you know, mystical or otherwise, really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
no,
Wasn't
I don't.
being mystical. I think he was just trying to describe it, and it was just beautiful. And I was
Oh,
how confused about the floor of dropping out of your life, and suddenly you're in a monastery.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't listened, if any of you haven't listened to Paul, you should now have a listen. It's funny because we were both footballers, we're the same age, and so we were both trying to be professional footballers at the same time. We're on. He was in Wales, and I'm on the east side of England. But yeah, we had that in common, so that was nice. And he still likes football, so we could talk football all day. Less in common on the mystical experience, more on the football.
Yeah.
What's his other name?
Morgan Summers.
Oh, thank you.
It's hyphenated. Somers. I think, is that right, Darren?
Yeah, Summers, Somers, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not that it needs to make sense, but it does make sense, you know, that there's not, it's just what is. There's not going to be, like you said, you know, this or that. I was just curious.
Yeah.
As he came to my, you know, mind, and
Yeah, I could see how he would come to mind, yeah.
And he has that lovely lilting Welsh, the ocean, the sweetness.
yes, exactly.
It's a love affair.
That's quite good, Darren.
It's very good.
That's a good impression.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. No. I don't know this, but I think one of the issues that everyone has when they're listening to non-duality is they can't help but infer whatever the way it is for the one who's speaking about it, that's the way it is. Not at all. It's absolutely individual. So there's no individual. It's utterly individual. Every human being will experience non-duality as uniquely as they did themselves. I'm often amazed. One thing that does amaze me is how similarly, a lot of speakers do speak about this. The fact that there is a lot of commonality. I mean, that surprises me. How much similarity there is. Of course, it's always different, but there isn't a way it will be. There isn't a way it is. There's no escape from this being human that you've called being yourself. You won't be able to fly or be, you know, Aquaman and swim underwater. All the fantasies that I had as a child about what superhero powers I would have, you know. And there is something about when you're a seeker, you can't help but imagine what superpowers might be bestowed upon the human being without one time out of the way. I haven't developed any superpowers. I seem to have lost some of those that I thought I had before. There is nothing gained. So, I mean, what a shit message this is. I don't know why anyone listens. There is only seeming loss. There is no gain. What would be gained? There is nothing to be gained. There is also nothing to be lost. But in the seeming, it's losing only. Of course, you didn't have anything in the first place. So that's only seeming losing. There actually is nothing to lose. And of course, nothing to lose may or may not feel like love. Maybe I'm using love for the absence of fear predominantly. Maybe. Because what's lost, the biggest loss of all, is fear for myself. Not natural fear, but I was always afraid of being found out. Terrified of that. Being found out. Others seeing me for who I really am, like I fucking knew. But of course, I told myself that I did know who I really was. And it wasn't the facade that I showed the world. Or maybe I showed one or two people who I really was. And I was terrified. I lived in constant fear of being found out, of being seen. So this longing to be seen and this dread of being seen. I'm just looking at my picture. I think I've gone a bit too film noir. It's virtually pitch black. So now we've moved from 1958 to 1976 in my mum's dining room.
I was thinking about what someone was saying earlier about senses. Is there a difference of senses? And I was thinking, I don't know how you feel, but without that certainty of somebody looking out, it feels looking or feels much more spacious somehow.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
definitely.
Mm.
Well, there was a time here when it was just empty, beyond empty. There was only, I mean, so the perception was the same, but all there was a sense of emptiness. Everything was just so utterly empty, which was a little disconcerting for a while. And yeah, I don't doubt that everything's empty. It's hard to describe, it's hard to talk about the realness of things and the unrealness of things not being two. I mean, how do you talk about that? You just can't. You can't say that. So yeah, things appear just as things as they always have done, but there's no doubt that they're not things. So the fullness of life, which is everything, it's very obviously nothing, but you can't see nothing. You only see the something. You only see the fullness. You only feel the fullness. There's nothing to be seen of nothing. There's nothing to be felt of emptiness. But yeah, as Darren said about spaciousness, so it's not like, so the natural perception, or the natural, most human beings have, the feeling they have of perception is when they're looking, is that there's objects and space in between. There's things and there's nothing. I mean, you can hypothesize, if you've done some science once you're about 8 years old, you know there's air, but you don't see air. Air is still nothing, generally, that's how it's perceived. In the like childlike mind, there's space between, And really that goes, and then there's just space. And there's no difference between the things and the space. So there isn't space between things. The things and the space between are no different. So in that sense, there's only space.
Mary Rose has a hand up. Go ahead, Mary.
Muted, sorry.
That's fine.
That's kind of why I was asking. I was walking and there was like a pond and a hill, and all of a sudden, like, there wasn't any three-dimensional, like a depth. It was just, I can only say it looked like a dream. It looked like I was actually, like, I felt almost dizzying. It was just sudden dropping away of, like, there's a path and there's a hill and then there's water at the bottom, and it all just became, I can't even describe it, but I don't know. And it doesn't mean anything. It just, that's an experience. But
And that's a familiar experience to me.
okay.
Again, it seemed like it's not how it appears now, but everything appeared very two-dimensional. So everything lost its depth. So that we have this, you could say, I mean, Mike was sure to say that it was something happened in my brain about depth perception, because it really was like everything. I tell you what it was like. It's how I described it, that whatever I was looking at looked like a postcard.
Yeah.
Literally flat. So there was definitely nothing behind it. And it was completely 2D. Everything lost its, you could say, so that's really losing its realness.
Yeah.
So perception is, because where self lives is that everything is real and objectively real in the outside world, real to me. And I mean, I had that as an experience. I had it for days on end. And yeah, it wasn't, I have to say, it was no big deal. It really was it was very different. And yet there was nothing threatening about it.
Exactly. Yeah. It was just like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know.
But if you have those experiences, of course, they do challenge the held, the held notion of, oh, I know how the world is. Because if perception is even slightly altered, it's funny that I said perception hadn't been altered, and then I'm just talking about this, I've realized, which is funny. It's just full of contradiction.
What a fake.
But that was
yeah, but okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Words escape me, but
I mean, it is miraculous that most human beings don't even question three-dimensionality of perception. It's quite amazing, isn't it?
Or time. I mean, it becomes
the same. It's pretty much the same. Yeah, time.
Absolutely no such thing. It's complete loss of track of time, and even like recent death, happened, and looking at the body in the casket, it's that what we perceive like this, that's just what seems to be there now, and there was something that seemed to be there before, but it's kind of clear that it really wasn't. And I don't know how it's clear, but it's so obvious.
Yeah.
That, because if 600 people had a different perception of that one that's in the casket, how could it in any way be real? It's all just like, I mean, I think of it as like the mind is a laptop, and all these things are put into it at some point, and then
But then,
call it red again.
but
You're back.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's, yeah, I agree completely. But there isn't something else that's real. You know, that is all you've got. So all you ever have is that. And this isn't saying that there is something else. I'm not saying, so I'm not saying I know reality.
Yeah, neither am I. As a matter of fact, the more it becomes obvious that I have no damn idea.
Yeah. Now you're talking.
Someone said, "Oh, you know, you're this, you're," and I said, "No, I don't know anything." "Oh, you're just being humble." I said, "No, you don't understand." I said, "Neither do you. You don't know anything either." Like,
well, it's fine to say you don't understand. Don't go telling other people.
Oh,
they won't like that, Mary.
I mean, I guess I said that in my head,
you be careful going around to, you know,
yeah,
saying that around the supermarket.
Yes, yeah. No, you have to know who you can be vulnerable around, and they know that this just crazy Mary Rose, and oh, that's just the way she talks sometimes. You know, but you don't go saying it at, you know, a social event, and you know, yeah.
Well, you
what
could,
would be what would be the point
you...
anyway? I mean, you'd have fun, I guess, and you know, if that'd be fine too. It's lively. Who cares?
It would be fine.
Yeah.
You'd annoy a few people.
Yeah, and that's just what's happening.
Thanks.
Thanks.
That's nice what you said about 2 dimensions.
In the chat, Ariana is asking about empty and love. So she says, how can it feel empty, but there is only love, and not feel the love? Or how does it work that the experience is empty, but everything is love?
I don't know, Ariana. But, all right, you. I mean, there could be people who could tell you. I wouldn't believe them. How on earth would they know? How on earth can emptiness be love? It is complete nonsense. I've never heard such bullshit in all my life, but there it is. No, yeah, there is no making sense of any of this. I could say that's another reason it feels like love, because there's no, really in making sense, where's the love in that, really? It's just arrogance, it's one-upmanship, it's I don't know. It's not, there's no love in it. I mean, the wonder is you don't need to know. There's no one needs to know. I would say there's no one who could know. I don't know that because I know there's plenty of people who say they do. But if you want answers to questions, this isn't the place for that, because this isn't I could say that love isn't interested. Well, love can't hear your questions. And if love did hear your questions, then it would be laughing in a mocking, like mocking Dracula type voice. You and your questions and you need to know. Type that kind of thing.
Mary, did you have another question, or did I just forget to put your hand down?
Oh yeah, I don't have another question. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, what's that?
Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Lovely to see you all. I've got a meeting in Hampstead a week on Saturday, on the 15th. So you're all welcome to come to that if you're passing London. I know there will be a few of you are going to come to that. And it's only 3 weeks tomorrow. 3 weeks tomorrow on the 27th of April, I'm speaking in Asheville, North Carolina. And then the following week on the 5th of May, 4th of May, then I'm in Sacramento. Tej is hosting me in Sacramento. And if if you're in the States, well, it'd be great. And I'm also in Copenhagen, but that's after the summer.
So there'll be no meeting on the 27th.
I probably won't have any meetings in America. So there will probably, I don't know, I might do. I could, because I could just do it on my phone. I might do one. So I don't know. So I might do a Thursday meeting in America, but it could be that there won't be one for 3 weeks from last week so for 3 weeks.
From 27th.
Yeah. But now I might decide I'll do it. Perhaps.
See how it goes.
All right, lovely to see you all. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Sorry,
Thanks,
I feel I need to apologise for being so loved up this evening. There we go.
Thanks.
Thank
Tim.
you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
You're just a big love bug.
I know.
Bye-bye.
I was called a love junkie the other day.
Yeah, well.
And I thought, well, there's worse things to be addicted to.
Hi, Tim. Nice to hear from you. Catch you another time. All right. I'm the yellow flower. I'm Zorro.
Oh, God. Long time no hear. You all right?
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
That's excellent. All right then.
Cheers, Carlton.
Cheers, Tim.